100 million people worldwide dead. 25 million European people dead. Half of England's population wiped out, and nearly 1,000 English villages devastated. The population of the German city of Hamburg was reduced by 70%. Paris, 50%. The population of Florence went from 120,000 to 50,000 people. Peasants, landowners, kings and queens, all were affected, and a new word entered the English language. This is the 14th century, and this is the Black Death. The geographical origin of the Black Death is unknown, but it is believed to have come from somewhere in the region of Mongolia or China. Caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis that lived in fleas carried by rats and transmitted via flea bites. It swept throughout the regions of Asia, eventually making its way to the Crimea in the 1300s via the troop movements of the Golden Horde, a breakaway state of the Mongols. An army headed by Kipchak Khan Janibeg was besieging the Genoese trading port of Kaffa in the Crimea when his army was struck down with the disease. Using catapults, he would fling the infected corpses of his soldiers into the town in order to spread the pestilence. It was from here that the Genoese ships moving along their trading routes would spread the bubonic plague along the trading ports of Europe and Africa. The first recorded case in Europe is in 1347, when 12 trading ships arrived from the Crimea and docked at the port of Messina in Sicily. To the horror of the townsfolk, all the sailors aboard were either dead or dying, covered in black boils and oozing pus. Officials at the port tried to remove the ships, but it was too late. The plague had its foothold. Until 1353, the plague would ravage the European population, causing the continent to descend into chaos. Mobs of people were formed around Europe blaming the local Jews, friars, foreigners, beggars, and even people with skin conditions such as psoriasis and eczema, leading to mass executions of innocent people. In one incident in 1349, known as the Strasbourg Massacre, hundreds of Jewish people were publicly burnt to death. The Black Death is thought to encompass 3 different stages: bubonic, septicemic, and pneumonic plague. These are the symptoms according to the CDC. The incubation period of the bubonic plague is usually 2 to 8 days. Patients develop fever, headache, chills, weakness, and 1 or more swollen painful lymph nodes called buboes. This form usually results from the bite of an infected flea. The bacteria multiply in the lymph node near where the bacteria entered the human body. If the patient is not treated with the appropriate antibiotics, the bacteria can spread to other parts of the body. The incubation period of septicemic plague is poorly defined, but it likely occurs within days of exposure. Patients can develop fever, chills, extreme weakness, abdominal pain, shock, and possibly bleeding into the skin and other organs. Skin and other tissue may turn black and die, especially on the fingers, toes, and nose. Septicemic plague can occur as the first symptom of plague, or it may develop from an untreated bubonic plague. This form results from bites of infected fleas, or from the handling of an infected animal. The incubation period of pneumonic plague is usually just 1 to 3 days. Patients develop fever, headache, weakness, and a rapidly developing pneumonia with shortness of breath, chest pain, cough, and sometimes a bloody or watery mucus. Pneumonic plague may develop from inhaling infectious droplets or may develop from untreated bubonic or septicemic plague after the bacteria spread to the lungs. The pneumonia may cause respiratory failure and shock. Pneumonic plague is the most serious form of the disease and is the only form of plague which can be spread from person to person. The plague came to an end in 1353, but it didn't really go away and would return roughly every 10 years until 1665. During these years, the first quarantines were implemented. In 1377, a 30-day waiting period for all ships entering port was imposed in Italy, called a Trentino. This was later to be extended to 40 days, called a quarantine in Italian. This is where we get the English word quarantine from. It was a combination of sanitation, better hygiene, and quarantine, which helped reduce the numbers of the infected people. The cycle of plague would come to an end in 1666 with the Great Fire of London. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this, could you please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.